Guess what we're doing today? That's right, we're making a simple beaded bracelet. Ah, so pretty. Ah, so cute. Thank you, Yvette, for suggesting I do a how-to video on how to make a bracelet. You know, you may think that if you know how to make a simple necklace, then it's the exact same as making a bracelet, but there's a few tips and tricks I want to share with you today. And in honor of me being due in about 2 weeks to give birth to a little girl, I decided to do a pretty in pink bracelet. So in honor of my daughter that's on her way, hopefully soon, I made a pink bracelet today. So let's get started so I can show you the tips and tricks of making a bracelet. These are the materials that you're gonna need. You're gonna need your tools as always, your cutters, your long nose and your round nose pliers. You're gonna need crimping beads, your wire. I'm actually using a 0.3, you can use a 0.45, whichever one you want. Your beads, of course, and your clasp. Today I'm using a spring ring and a split ring, and it's just very simple beaded bracelet. So the first thing you're gonna do before you even make a pattern is you're going to measure your wrist. And you may be making it for somebody else, you may be making it for yourself, but you're gonna wanna measure how long you want your bracelet, because you'll have to do some trial and errors, a lot more if you don't. Now, if you're making it for somebody else, when you measure your wrist, you gotta think, is their wrist bigger than mine? Is it smaller than mine? If it's bigger, you're gonna wanna have it be longer. If it's smaller, you're gonna, of course, wanna have it be shorter. So after you measure your wrist, you are going to make sure that your bracelet is about the size that you want. But when you are doing the size, make sure you add into the length your clasp, because your clasp will add on about a ½ inch. Your clasp on either side together will add on about a ½ inch. And so that's a lot to add on if you don't add it to the equation. So make sure after you know the length that you want, that not only do you add in the length of the beads that you want, but you also add in the clasp as well. So that's just a tip for you. So then after you know about the size you want, you're going to set the pattern out for the beads. I already laid out my pattern that I want, and then you're gonna string them, which I've already done. And then now we're gonna put on our clasp. So what you need to do is you have your wire. So you're gonna take your crimping beads, and you're gonna take one crimping bead, and you're going to put it through the wire, and then you're gonna take one side of your clasp. So whether it's the hoop, the split ring that we're using today, or it's actually the clasp itself, you're going to put the wire around your clasp or your hoop, and you're going to pull it, make sure you have leeway. And then for the crimping bead, you're going to crimp it. So you're going to take your long nose pliers and press down and crimp your bead. Make sure it's actually crimped and that the wire cannot move. It cannot be moved. And then I'm going to bring all my beads around, and see how there's extra wire. You want extra wire. Do not cut your wire to the crimping bead. You want to have a little bit of your wire left, because it will save it from falling apart. I have found that when I cut my wire all the way to the crimping bead, that it's more likely to slip out. And so then I'm going to take my extra wire and I'm going to put it through my beads, until it can't show anymore, because you don't want it poking out or you'll poke your wrist doing it. So I have one side of my bracelet done. I'm going to cut the other side. When you cut it, make sure you have enough to put a crimping bead on, put your clasp on, and then loop it through. Cut it. Take my crimping bead. Take my clasp. Now, before you put on your clasp that has the movable part, make sure you test it out, because sometimes the clasps I have are broken or they are frozen or whatever the case. And if I put the clasp on before I try it and it's broken, you've just wasted a lot of time. You might have to start all over again. So make sure you try it before you put it on. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I put my crimping bead on. Next comes my clasp. put my wire through the crimping bead. It's a lot harder on this side. It takes a lot more practice to do this side, so do not get discouraged. So I have my crimping bead. I'm going to find my wire that is going to pop out on the other side. And what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to pull it so there's not a gap. You don't want a gap of wire between your crimping bead. So pull it, make sure there's not a big gap. You don't want no gap because then it's tighter around here, but you want it where there's barely a gap between your crimping bead and your bead. You don't want a big gap of wire. So I don't. So, and I have enough leeway on my hoop, and I'm going to crimp my bead. Yeah. So see the extra wire you have, you don't want to cut that. Don't cut that because then it'll be more likely that the bracelet will fall apart, that the wire will go through your crimping bead. This takes a lot of practice, but you're going to want to put it back through. Oh, it takes me even a lot of, still after all these years of doing beading, it takes me a lot to put it through. So then when you've pushed it through and you see it on the other side, grab it, pull it, so all the excess is through, and you can either put it through the other bead or now you can cut it. And I like to cut it. Cut it so there's no wire poking out. And that is how you make a simple beaded bracelet. Oh yeah, look at my bracelet, look at my bracelet. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. I like it a lot. Yes, I do. So I hope that helped you with a couple tips and tricks on how to do a bracelet. It is a little bit different than a necklace, pretty much the same, but there's a few things that you can learn. But that's all I got for you guys today. Yvette, thank you so much for suggesting to do a bracelet. I've been wanting to do a bracelet video for a while. I'm like, no one really wants a bracelet video. No one. But Yvette, you proved me wrong and I appreciate you for it. So that's all I got for you guys today. I do videos twice a week. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, click right there. And if you want to see more of my videos, that's right, I do have a lot more videos. Click here and click here for some of the other videos I've done. But that's all I got for you guys today. You guys rock. Keep rocking the jewelry. Keep making the jewelry. And I love you and I'll talk to you later. Bye.